I call to order the November 10th, 2021 meeting of the Springfield Board of License Commissioners at 5:30 PM on Zoom. Commissioner Espinosa is absent and that's it. So we have 4 commissioners and we have a quorum, so we can continue. First order of business is approval of the minutes of the hearing of October 27th. And we just got an update to those. Because page 2 is missing. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those? And does anybody have any changes?
No.
No.
Yeah, no changes. No.
Okay. I make a motion then to approve the minutes of the hearing of October 27th, 2021. Do I hear a second?
Okay.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signatory, yes, thank you. All right. First item under continued new positions, petitions is a petition for change of manager for Racing Mart at 1487 Bay Street. And Attorney Rook, that's yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good
Good
evening,
evening.
fellow commissioners.
Good evening.
Are you all dried out there in Plymouth?
We got hammered, Peter. We got
Yeah.
hammered 90 to 95 mile an hour winds for 18 consecutive hours.
Wow,
The house was shaking,
wow,
but thank you for your consideration. But no structural damage.
that's good.
Mr. Chairman and fellow members, Jacinia Paredes is the proposed manager. She's worked with Racing Mart. Is she with us, Peter?
Yes, she is.
Okay, she's worked since 2012 for Racing Mart and its owner, Johnny K. Ruse, who you've met many times in the past. She has plenty of experience. She's familiar with Chapter 138 and the awesome responsibility that goes with being a manager of a liquor store. I believe that she's more than qualified based upon her background. And I would ask you to ask her any questions that you might have. I would point out, well, I've already said that she's been with Racing Mart for 2012, so it's almost 10 years, and she has great experience.
Okay. Ms. Paredes, could you turn your mic on, please? Seems to have disappeared, Tom. Jacinia? Oh, there you are. Connecting. Well,
I'm so sorry about that.
no problem. It
My
happens.
mic was not, and I couldn't figure it out.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
Happens all the time. Okay, so this is going to be your full-time job.
Yes, this is.
So how many hours a week do you work there?
I work anywhere from 50 to 60 hours a week.
50 to
Sometimes
60? Okay. How many employees do you have that are selling alcohol?
Right now I have 9 employees. Only 8 of them sell alcohol because the 9th one is a overnight employee, and those hours we don't sell alcohols, and his shift
Okay.
is from 12 to 7.
And are you tip certified?
Yes, I am.
Are all the employees tip certified?
The new ones are in process, but the old ones, you have to have been certified since opening.
Okay, you don't want employees selling alcohol that are not tip certified. Are they getting certified online?
Yes, they are.
Okay, all right. So I caution you not to have a uncertified employee there by themselves selling alcohol until they have their certification, okay? Once they are certified, as you know, you get a certificate. And I'm gonna ask you to keep a file of all the employee certificates, and they expire. So make a calendar for yourself of who needs to be recertified and make sure that their certificates are kept up to date. Where do you live, ma'am?
I live in Holyoke, Massachusetts at the
Holyoke.
moment.
Okay, okay. Now, manager of record on a liquor license is a much greater responsibility. I'm sure
Yep.
Attorney Rook has explained that to you. You
Of
are
course.
answerable to this commission should there be any violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, which is normally selling to a minor in gas station, convenience stores such as yours. So you will be answerable to this commission. Do you accept that responsibility?
Of course.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Ms. Paradis?
No.
No.
No. All right. I would make a motion, then we go into discussion and vote. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. Okay, we have a candidate working full-time. She's been there since 2012, seems very qualified for this position. Does anybody disagree?
No.
No, I would make a motion then that we approve a petition. Oh, wait, we have to go into, we have to continue, Tom, sorry.
Right.
I'll make a motion, then we continue this to the next hearing, which will be Tuesday, November 30th, to allow public input on Ms. Paradis. Do I
Tuesday or
hear-
Wednesday?
What's that?
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday, last business day of November.
Okay, thank you.
You know, our special meeting on November. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. All right, we will see you at the end of the month, November 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, next is another TJR special petition for alteration of premises for City Line Capital, DBA City Line Cafe located at 911 Rimmon Avenue. Martin Cunningham, manager of record. And this is to add patios. Is that correct, Attorney Rook?
That is correct. And by way of background, Mr. Chairman, you may recall approximately 6 months ago, we appeared before your commission with a request to expand the premises to the patio at the rear of the.
Somebody's got a phone ringing. Could somebody shut their phone off, whoever that is?
That would be me. Excuse me. My apologies. So the commission approved the rear patio approximately 6 months ago. And then it was discovered that the Sunday or the Springfield Republican failed to publish the legal notice that had been sent to them. So we're now here having a rehearing on the rear patio, which had previously been voted upon. And in addition, requesting permission for the front patio immediately in front of the building. By way of background, the planning board has endorsed both the rear and front patios unanimously. The Hungry Hill Civic Association has unanimously endorsed it. And there is no neighbor opposition, to my knowledge, to either the rear or the front of the patio. Mr. Cunningham has owned this business for a number of years, and there has never been any violations of any type against his license while he has been the owner / manager. So I would ask that you endorse it. The planning board imposed some conditions which we do not oppose. One is no outdoor music. 2, closing the patios at 11 p.m. and no exterior banners or anything else.
Okay. Can you tell us what the number of square feet on the back patio is and how many people are allowed out there?
Marty, can you help me out with that, please?
Yeah, the number of people allowed in the back, I believe it was around 15.
15, 15?
Yes.
Oh.
And it's
And the front is even smaller, right? It's just between where the cars park and the front of the building?
yeah, there's actually, a pretty decent sized apron, I guess you'd call it, right before the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So down the road, we may envision maybe 4 or 5 tables.
So is that 4 persons, 4
Yeah,
people per
I mean,
table?
I
like
would.
20? Is the front patio bigger than the back patio?
It's a different configuration, Peter. The back patio is more of a square,
Yeah.
where the front one is more of a rectangle.
Yeah,
going across the front of the building and out about, what, 10 feet wide, Marty?
Yeah, I believe the measurements were something like 40 by 8 or something like that. That we envisioned putting a barrier and a fence and things like that.
40 feet by 8 feet in the front?
Yes.
Oh, all right. So how many people are going to fit out there?
Like I said, I mean, I don't anticipate more than, 4 or 5 tables, for people per a table,
20.
No more than 20 people, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Okay. And the closing time for both patios will be 11 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. We do have a letter from which the commissioner should have been forwarded from the Hungry Hill Neighborhood Council. Hungry Hill Neighborhood Council. October 19th to the Springfield Planning Board, the Hungry Hill Neighborhood Council Board has agreed to support the alteration expansion of premises for all alcohol license expansion at 911 Rimmon Avenue. It is our understanding that this is for rear and front patio at the City Line Cafe. A quorum of the board of the Hungry Hill Council met with Mr. Cunningham on his proposal. Due to technicality in the original application for the rear patio, he had to reapply and now has included the front patio. We understand that the front patio will have a gated enclosure and we recommend that both patios be closed at 11 p.m. We also request there be no music, entertainment, or TVs displayed along with no banner, streamers, or promotional material. We encourage the serving of food as we feel this will benefit to his business and the community. In addition, as we stated in the first license application, we ask the patios be maintained with respect to litter and debris. They also be mindful of loitering and noise as it is a strong quality of life issue that can affect the abutting residential area. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Catherine Mossy, President. So, commissioners, do we have any questions about these patios?
No.
No. All right. So I will make a motion to continue this hearing until November 30th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. Okay, we will see you on the 30th for your patio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, fellow commissioners.
Good night.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Have a good one.
Now, next is a new petition for change of officers for the Sarno Enterprise Incorporated, the X Club. And Namako has indicated that Attorney Kelly is representing and cannot attend and has asked for a continuance. So this is a very small request, but if he wants a continuance, we can continue it. I would make a motion, then we continue. Namako, I keep bouncing around the screen. I never know where to find it. Namako, did he say when he wanted this continued to? Is the next meeting on the 30th? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Okay. So I make a motion that we continue this item to Tuesday, November 30th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. Continued to November 30th. All right. I am going to
Shut it off.
You done?
skip down to Attorney Hagan, who has submitted a request for property tax waiver for Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Attorney Hagan, would you like to make a presentation?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I'm actually here with the club president of Mount Carmel, Frank Magagnoli. And I sent you a letter, but really our issue is that Mount Carmel was uniquely impacted by the COVID shutdown. As you know, they were shut down in March of 2020 with all of the other businesses in the city. However, because they don't serve food and are just a volunteer club that relies on volunteers and only serves alcohol, they weren't allowed to reopen until May of this year. In fact, late May of this year. So they've only really had an opportunity to earn revenue and generate revenue for a few months. And they are generating revenue and they are planning to pay their taxes. The problem is that we're getting to renewal season and obviously they are not current at this time. So it puts them in a tough position. And so we're looking for some consideration on their license renewal so that they're able to get the new license and continue paying their taxes. Unfortunately for Mount Carmel, things like PPP loans and the like are not available for them to cover other expenses because they're all volunteer and the like. So anyway, so we're looking for some consideration on this year's renewal for taxes.
Okay, well, I reviewed today the liquor license renewal sheet, and we have 11 clubs that we issue licenses to. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them are current and they passed their renewal and they will get their licenses automatically. We have 4 that are on the tax certification fail sheet right now. One has 2020 real estate, one has 2021 real estate. One, the Italian American Club, just has a few small, what we call general bills. I'm sure those will be taken care of. And then there's Mount Carmel, who has taxes due from 2020, 2021, and 2022. So explain to the commission why we should give consideration just to Mount Carmel and not hold all these other clubs to the same standard that have already paid their taxes and passed the certification.
Yeah, so I don't know, Mr. Chairman, how the other clubs are operating, but Mount Carmel was unable to generate any revenue during that time period. So
Why is that? They couldn't have had a spaghetti dinner or some sort of a dance or something to raise funds, appeal to the members. We are in a problem with the tax bind.
Yeah. So they don't have they're not staffed for it. They don't have the chefs, they don't have the people because in order to do that, obviously they're all based on volunteers. So they don't have the staff to be able to do regular dinner service, to be able to pay their property taxes. And you couldn't have members in there during this time because it was a COVID shutdown. I mean, essentially being indoors in general was a challenge. And they have a lot of older members who obviously COVID was more of an impact on them than others. So I do think they are uniquely positioned in that sense that, they just, given the age of the membership, that they're all volunteer and that they just haven't been able to earn any revenue during over a 1.5 year shutdown. That was not their choice. They've obviously fallen a little behind on their taxes and, just seems like an exemption would, at least to allow them to earn revenue, which they are earning now, and they're generating it through, they have parties and they have, their normal daily business and all of that. But to allow them to continue paying their taxes, would be very helpful.
Okay, I don't see, as a matter of fairness, how we can just waive the requirement for one particular licensee. Namako, could you give us your opinion on this?
Like you said, as a matter of fairness, if you are waiving for one licensee, what happens if another licensee also shows up and says that, okay, can you waive the liquor liability requirement or can you waive the fire inspection requirement? So it's a slippery slope. While the board has discretion in this matter, as you rightly stated, it would be unfair to other licensees because there are 11 of them and 7 had so far been able to fulfill the requirement. If we waive, or if the board were to waive for Mount Carmel, the 3 would also come in. Okay, you did it for Mount Carmel, so I think you should also waive it for us. So it's a slippery slope.
I have one. I'm not sure I should mention the name. There, I have them every year, like clockwork. They come in and they have tax issues and they struggle. And they were in last week. They owed 2020 and 2021 real estate. They paid off the 2020 and they put a sizable down payment on the 2021. And they're, you know, like, we're working hard. I said, well, have a fundraiser, do a fish fry, do a chicken fry, do a dance, do something. They said, we're doing steak dinners on Thursday night. We will get the money up. Somehow we will do it. And I explained to them that the liquor license renewal process is separate from the tax certification process. That as long as they get the renewal in by the end of November, and we accept the renewal will be processed, but the new license for 2022 will not be released until the taxes are paid. So they actually have the entire month of December to continue working on this tax problem, and even into January. If it takes the first week of January to come up with all the money, they will have until however long it takes to make the taxes current. And he seemed to be relieved by that. He didn't realize, he thought he had to have all the bills paid by the end of November, and he left, and they are working on it. So commissioners, does anybody have opinions here?
Mr. Chairman, I would just, sorry, if I could, I would just say that, you know, from your numbers, it sounds like just slightly over half have done it. Now, have paid or are current. So I don't know if, maybe the others should have requested, maybe they are going to request it. But again, I don't know how we could do, with what, I understand what you're saying about being able to have December to do it, but, come January 2022, they don't have a license, so they really can't generate any revenue at that point if they're, so we're kind of putting their back against the wall and facing closure essentially because they were shut down for over a year without the ability to open or generate any funds.
Right, but they were not the only one, and over half have already met the goal.
Slightly over half, but.
Yeah, over half, yeah. So commissioners, any thoughts?
My thought is, I think that on one other occasion, there was one other entity that had problems in this regard. And I think there was some kind of installment plan that was initiated. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
I
think it was an Elegant Affairs, I think.
Oh, well, Elegant Affairs is in a payment plan with the law department on money that they owed the park department. So,
okay.
And they are still making their payments, and they are current. She got a little behind last year, but she is current.
Is this some kind of arrangement that could be the same for this entity?
Well, the requirements for a payment plan are that they be current on the current year's taxes, which would mean paying the first half of 2022 and 25% of the outstanding amount due. So I don't know how much cash is available over there at Mount Carmel, but that's the requirement for a payment plan.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had spoke to the treasurer's office, and what they had told me was that they would not be eligible for a payment plan unless they had were in tax title, essentially.
Oh, yeah, you're not in tax title. You're right. You only owe 2020. We just did the taking on 2019. So on real estate, yes, you're not entitled to a payment plan. The amount due for that other licensee you mentioned, Andrew, was rent.
Oh, that was right. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so that's a different story. You're right.
So, Mr. Chairman, it puts them in the unique position of if they owed more money and were later, they would be able to be eligible for a payment plan. But now, because they don't owe enough, essentially they're denied the ability to get on an installment plan, which would be acceptable to them if they could do something like that to get current.
Right.
So those that are more delinquent get to have a plan, but those who are not as delinquent don't, and unfortunately could impact their license. So that's why we're asking for the consideration.
Well, we have no licensees that are in payment plans on real estate.
But that is a possibility, isn't it?
No, not unless you're in tax title.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if you're in tax title and you're
Right.
more delinquent, then you get the
Right.
ability to access a payment plan. If you're not, then you don't.
Correct. And that the commission did not set up that payment plan. That was between the law department and the park department.
That's correct. And so that's why we're asking for your consideration, because they're not eligible for the payment plan. So it puts their back against the wall. And so we'd ask that you give them some help.
Commissioners, thoughts? We don't have the, city does not have the ability legally to make a payment plan on the real estate. So the request is to just waive the requirement. I mean, do you have any concept of when these taxes would be paid? You're 2.5 years delinquent now.
I mean, I think, again, they are generating revenue now, so I'm not really sure. I have the club president here in terms of, maybe talk to when they think they could get current, sometime midway through next year, or
I would say, for June.
yeah. So what Frank has said, I'm not sure if you heard that, but he figures by June of 2022, they will be current on all of their property taxes.
Right, when in 2022?
June.
June. I'm just trying to get the, find the parcel for the,
And Mr. Chairman, one other point too, sorry, just to say that Mount Carmel is not a frequent tax delinquent entity. I mean, have always been current on their taxes. So again, this is strictly COVID based.
so there's more than one parcel there, but I'm looking up the building. On the building alone currently is $24,816. And then there's an adjoining parcel. So you're telling the commission that this $24,800 is going to be paid by June.
That's correct. They will be current on all their taxes by June. Our numbers are a little different, Mr. Commissioner. So the total that we had due was $15,233.77, which was $14,340 on parcel ending 3-5, $456.35 on parcel ending 3-2, and $437.20 on parcel ending 3-3.
So of course, by June,
yes. Okay. There will be.
There's going to be another half a year due.
That's correct.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to tell the commission? Commissioners, are we leaning toward anything here? I don't see how we can give an exemption to one licensee without a can of worms to every licensee in the city who is currently on the fail list.
I agree.
What does Mount Carmel, does it have like banquets? Does it do banquets? Does it, what kind of events could it do to generate their revenue to pay these taxes?
Yes, so they do host parties. They do have, and that's they have a hall there that they can utilize. So that is how they would essentially pay their taxes and get current by June, is mostly through parties. But they also have obviously a business that they run during the day too, where folks come in and drink, and club members. So they do have the ability to generate it. It's not like it's something out of their reach. It's just they need time to do it because they haven't, they've only had a few months since being allowed to open.
Okay, currently, what's the booking?
It's 6 o'clock.
For any shows, banquets, whatever? Do they have any type of booking schedule going on?
Every weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
Essentially every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. They're booked through maybe the end of the year. Is that right?
Right into 2022.
Right into 2022. So again, they have the ability to get there. It's just they need a little bit of time. And because they're not totally in tax title, they can't get to a payment plan. So they're in this kind of donut hole of, because, they're not delinquent enough to get a payment plan, but COVID shut them down and they can't pay their real estate taxes.
Because they wouldn't allow anybody in the building.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. I will make a motion then to deny the request for a waiver of the tax certification in order to obtain the 2022 license. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. Sorry, Attorney Hagan. I'm hoping that they can come up with the money before January 1st. Good night. All right, now, commissioners, we have an interesting situation which required me to do a lot of research on the ABCC's website. We have in Springfield, I had to make a little Word document for myself to figure this out. We have in Springfield a farmer brewer, and that is in Indian Orchard, and it's known as Rustic Brewing. It's in the Mills in Indian Orchard. And a farmer brewer is allowed to brew beer, sell the beer directly to retailers, sell bottles or growlers, and that's a bottle, I guess, to directly to consumers for consumption off premise, and serve samples of the beer to customers with approval of the local licensing authority. So they are out there in the mill brewing their beer. And now they want a farmer series pouring permit, which can only be granted to someone who already has a farmer brewer's license. So they're brewers, now they want a farmer series pouring permit, which would allow them to serve full-size glasses of beer to consumers on premise. So they will be appearing before Planning Board next Wednesday for their first hearing there. And we currently have one license category. The only license category that I would think that would apply to them, which is a wine and malt general on premise, which allows that licensee to serve wine and malt without requirement for serving food, but they can serve anybody's wine and malt. So if you have a wine and malt GOP restaurant, bar, you can serve Michelob and Youngling and Schlitz and whatever you want there to your patrons. A farmer brewer and farmer series pouring permit, you're only allowed to serve your own beer. So your product is limited to what you produce yourself. So the wine and malt GOP license is $1,400 a year. So I want the commission to discuss whether we feel there should be a new category. I would suggest at a lower cost for these farmer series pouring permits who are much smaller and allowed to serve only their own product. Do we have any thoughts on that? And establish this before they pick up the license, and they'll know what to pay.
So what about other areas? Do they have these farmer permits out there already? And what are they charging?
I was called by a counselor in East Long Meadow because they were getting one who was moving in from East Hampton, and I had never heard of it. And I said, I'm not a good source of information on this. Sorry, I would suggest you call the ABCC. So now that we have our own application, I had to actually look it up and see what it was all about. So yes, they do have one in East Long Meadow. It's off of Maple Street. In kind of like we're in back near where the gym is in Maple.
Yeah.
There's an Italian restaurant, not Rinaldi's. I can't think of the name of it right now. And
Mhm.
I think they just opened and they are serving food there. Donardo's, right. And so they're serving food there. And I do not know what they charge for their license. Every municipality charges different prices for
Yeah.
their licenses.
So it seems like it's something that is starting to trend in the area.
Yes. And I looked up what White Lion has, and they have a different, I think they have a wine and malt general on premise, I believe. It's not this. I know it's not this.
Mhm.
So there was nothing we could go by because we don't have any yet. So I think $1,400 is a bit high for a farmer who's can only serve his own beer. I would suggest $500. And if you think that's not enough, we can go up from there.
I think that's reasonable.
I think 500 is a good number.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will make a motion then that we create a new license type, a farmer series pouring permit, and the annual fee for that be $500. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signator. Okay. So we have a new license category. First time, I think, ever in 18 years. Thank you. All right.
And it's stipulated, Mr. Chairman, that they will only pour their own product.
Yes. Well, I believe the ABCC only allows them to pour their own product.
Okay, okay.
Yes. We can clarify that with them when they come, but I
Right.
believe I can look again in that wherever I found that on the ABCC's website, which was not easy. I believe they're required to serve only their own. And that's why they're called a farmer
Okay.
series. All right. Yes, good. All right. Now, we shall move on to pre-hearing conference for Delicias Restaurant and Catering at 1333 Boston Road. And we have 4 different violations. And the first one is the violations of August 14th and 15th. Mako, would you like to frame those for the commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So, Attorney Sean.
Allen.
Oh, sorry, Attorney Allen. So like Mr. Chairman rightly pointed out, there are 4 violations here. And I would also like to state on the record that prior to these violations coming for pre-hearing conference, we have had the licensee appear before the board for informational hearing regarding the noise complaint. In that hearing, the licensee agreed to remedy the situation. And we are here today because the situation has not been remedied yet. So there are 4 violations. 3 of those violations are about noise ordinance violation. One of the violation, which is September 17th to 19th, is a violation of the patio restriction. According to their license, the patio should not be open after 11 p.m. And on that particular day, the patio was still open after 11 p.m. Now, the facts of the violation of August 14th and 15th, violation of October 2nd and 3rd, and violation of October 14th and 17th are similar in the sense that for August 14th and 15th, we had a neighbor or neighbors from 140, 145, and 148 Gerald's Drive who are over 50 feet apart from the licensee, calling 911, reporting noise emanating from the licensed premises. given where they were, they could still hear the bass sound coming from the licensed premises. According to them, they would turn on their air condition with the hope that it would subdue the noise, but they still could hear the noise. For the violation of October 2nd and 3rd, again, the neighbors called 911. When the officer arrived, he literally sat in his car for 15 minutes. And throughout the duration of the 15 minutes, he could still hear noises coming from the Lyceus. In his report, he indicated that he walked away between 75 to 100 yards, and he could still hear the bass sound and the loud music and, you know, patrons speaking on top of their voices also, which could also be heard from that distance. For the violation of October 14th and 17th, we have the license board police investigator, Officer Barry Dalemata, going to the area from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. in the morning. And while he was there, he recorded his observations as constantly from time to time, you would hear bass coming from the premises. You would also hear people speaking, as well as whenever the patio also opens, the door to the patio opens, noises could also be heard. And I would also point out that he was over 50 feet away because he was at the 140, 145, and then 148, which are all over 50 feet away. So we are citing the licensee for 4 violations. And the goal here is that we can resolve this amicably without having to go to a final hearing. For the 4 violations within a period of 36 months, which is very less. As a matter of fact, all these violations are occurring within, say, a 4-month period. In that regard, which is within the 36-month period, by our rules and regulations, if we were to go for a final hearing and the board were to sustain the charges, the licensee will be facing a 30-day suspension. But if we can agree, or if the licensee is able to stipulate or admit, we can reach an amicable settlement. So over to you, Attorney Allen.
Unfortunately, I called yesterday to speak to the law department. This is what I'm hearing now during the hearing rather than during the conversation. And I wasn't aware of a video, so I would like an opportunity to see the video that was made by the hearing officer. I was provided 41 pages of what appears to be log complaints. Most of them are unsubstantiated for noise. I'm not saying you didn't provide that to Mr. Crespo, but I'm just in this a couple days. But if you did provide it to him, then I understand. But they have forwarded to me what was forwarded to them. They have, I can just tell you, I was going to ask for another pre-hearing to actually see if we could resolve it after they put in some things. I understand from speaking briefly to the attorney at the city that they've come before the commission and have said we're going to do things, but didn't do them. I'm just paraphrasing what was said to me, but I can tell you they have contacted the owner, and the plan right now, regardless of the action that's taken, because they want to maintain the businesses, they're going to add insulation to the back of the building. The owner has given them permission to take the windows out and put soundproof windows in. There's an estimate that just came in yesterday to put soundproof windows in. There's a sound engineer that was there today. I'm not all up to speed on the decimals and what the city ordinance with respect to that science. He's testing it to see exactly either to remove speakers or take speakers out. And they've suggested just closing the patio until the spring altogether, which if that is causing noise, if people are going outside smoking and the neighbors can hear people talking. But I do understand just from speaking to them, it appears to be the one complainant is pretty consistent. And, I've told them I would expect that person to continue to complain because it appears that they have continued to complain even while this is pending. But I'm not in a position I think they should resolve it. And my understanding from speaking to the city is they actually have days in abeyance, I think, and I think Ms. Attorney Days had mentioned to me that they have a few days being held in abeyance. They do need to resolve it, and I'm actually working to resolve it, but I also would like to say, here's their proposal, but here's a plan, but here's a real plan of something that they've actually done. So, I'm not really asking to go to a final hearing. I understand if the board says, well, that's what we're going to do if we can't resolve it tonight. But I think I heard a date of November 30th, which is like 2 weeks. Because I do believe the window contractor, they sent me the estimate from him that he could put the soundproof windows in, they can get the installation, and there's an email confirming from the person that owns the building that they could do the work. I think I believe the representation of the city's lawyers. They came in on their own pro se, and they apparently told the board they were going to do these things, didn't do them. I don't know if they proposed all these things. The sound engineer, you can give it the weight you want on the decimals and the size of the speakers, but obviously, there appears to be, at least with respect to the complaints that are in here, it's the same person. But I did review the 41 pages, and even the police officers are saying they went there was just no noise. They sat there, but I understand what the lawyer just read out, but I think they'd be in a better position, even if you were to say, we're suspending them for X amount of days for these violations, at least to come before the board with a plan that's real, to say this is what we've done to see if it works. I think they need to do this and be more positive going forward. So I would ask, in lieu of a final hearing, even if it's in 2 weeks, if you would allow us to have a pre-hearing and try and resolve it at the next pre-hearing, agreeing with council that the understanding what he just said. And I think Derek is, obviously Mr. Crespo's here. He's heard what one of the consequences could be, and that could be a 30-day shutdown, which for them as a small business is disastrous to their functioning, their financial situation. So for those reasons, I believe what you say is on the video, but maybe they need to look at the video if they're, my understanding is there's one particular neighbor they're having trouble with. I'd like to try and talk to the neighbor and maybe have the neighbors see the insulated windows to see what they've done. It might help mitigate the complaints and see if there's anything else they can do. I think it's just a different approach by saying, well, the neighbor's wrong. Let's approach the neighbor and see if a neutral person can approach the neighbor and see if we can come to a middle ground. Regardless of what the board does, I think going forward, it would probably be the best solution to prevent further complaints and to resolve the noise issue. Because, clearly, there's a noise issue when you look at the log, even that was provided. It's like 41 pages of calls. So someone is not happy about what's happening. I don't know about this base and what the decimals are, but it does need to be corrected. So.
Well, the noise ordinance is pretty clear. It's nothing can be heard from 50 feet away from amplified music, and these people are 150 to 200 feet away and they can hear it. So they told us on August 11th they were going to remediate this problem, and it is now November 10th and they still have not done so. So what we have before us tonight is 4 separate violations, and you requesting this has been continued twice. This is the second continuance. We only allow 2 continuances before we go to final hearing. So are you going to stipulate to these at the pre-hearing conference? Or are you going to, or we'll move to a final hearing? Those are the choices.
Okay. Well, I don't know. What was you said? Is one of the continuances Dan Kelly asking for it to go tonight? Is that one of the? That's one of the continuances you're considering.
Yeah.
All right. Because I don't have the video, so I'm not in a position.
What video are you talking about?
Yeah. Let me.
I think he just said there was a compliance officer that took a video.
No, what I meant was that he wrote a report about what his observations were.
Okay, so there is no video.
There's no video. He didn't record any video.
If the police officers went there and their body cameras were on, there might be video from that. That's the only video I can think of. These neighbors have never mentioned taking videos of anything. It's noise. There's nothing really to take a video of. It's just noise, unless you could record the bass sound, I guess. I don't know.
So Attorney Allen, what do you suggest in terms of sanctions? I mean, the thing is, we recognize that now they are trying to do something about it, which is long overdue. When the calls started coming in, when they appeared before the board, they made promises. They didn't do anything. When the calls started coming in again and police officers started showing up, they should have been proactive enough to do something about it. It's good that now they want to do it, but at the same time, they are not going to go away without sanctions. Definitely, there will be sanctions.
Okay, so I mean, if you're saying you're going to issue a suspension, then I can't, obviously I can't change your mind if that's what, if it's been predetermined that that's what's going to happen. But I asked for the reasons I've asked for a brief continuance for one more pre-hearing. I think it's in the interest, regardless of whether you suspend the license or not, it's still in the interest to resolve the problem and give me an opportunity to work with the neighbors. I totally agree the frustration. They're pro se. I don't know why they didn't do it. I don't know if they didn't have the money to do what I was suggesting they do based upon the outline, but it is for them, a small business. It's a substantial amount of money, hiring a contractor, putting soundproof windows in, and maybe just getting rid of these speakers that are amplifying this music altogether. I'm not in disagreement with you. I think
they
they're
should have done that in August when they told us they were going to do it.
I totally agree with you. And I wasn't here in August, and it doesn't matter that I'm here now, but I totally agree with you. And they've been told you have an obligation to respond to the community and the complaints that keep coming in. So I respect what you're saying. I just want you to understand that I'm listening to you, but I do think they'd be in a better position to resolve it. It's not my advice to them. I'll just be pretty candid with you. I've been before you before, Mr. Commissioner, is to go to full hearing. It's not my advice for them to do that, but I would like to at least, even if it's in a week or a week and a half, to have a better plan. And I do think in mitigation, then I would feel a little bit more comfortable to say, this is what you should do and why. But I understand what you just told me, and those are the rules, but then we would have to set it up for full hearing, although that's not the prudent thing to do. But I'm not in a position to recommend it right now.
All right. So you're not stipulating to these violations tonight then?
No.
Okay. I would make a motion then.
Mr. Chairman, before you do, let me just to clarify the record. In the previous hearing, only the violation for August 14th and 15th were on the agenda. The rest were not on the agenda. So only one violation was continued for that fateful day. Okay. The rest of the violations are appearing on the agenda for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted the record to reflect that.
All right, so we will have a final hearing on the violations of August 14th and 15th, and then a pre-hearing conference on the others?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
But at the same time,
I can't hear you.
The problem we have now is unwarranted. They should have been sensitive to the plight of the neighbors. The remedies
definitely should, yes.
The remedies should have been, at least they should have made an attempt to remedy the situation a long time ago. However, like counsel said, he was just appointed and he's not familiar with the facts and as well as our rules and regulations. So in the interest of fairness.
Attorney Allen has appeared before this board before. He's well aware of that. This is not his first appearance, Namako.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, I'm not aware of, there's always discretion, equitable discretion to say that just because there was a 1-week continuance, because Attorney Kelly had a conflict and couldn't handle the matter, that you can't grant another continuance. I think you have the discretion.
Not our policy. That is not.
I know it's not the policy, but you're going on 3 other matters to another pre-hearing. So I'm not asking for big stretch, but rules always have some discretion and flexibility.
So I will make a motion that we move to a final hearing for the violation of August 14th and 15th to be heard on November 30th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano.
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. And then we will have a pre-hearing conference the same night on the other violations, which are September 17th to the 19th, October 2nd to the 3rd, and October 14th to the 17th. Okay. Anybody have anything else?
No,
Oh, we have new violations. Yeah. Always forget that.
Are there new violations on this matter?
Uh,
yes,
There
Oh,
is,
yes, of course. Yes, every week we have new ones. Okay. We have a report dated November 3rd for Top Shelf. October 22nd, 2021 at 1:21 a.m. Officers responded to a disturbance at Top Shelf located at 240 Chestnut Street. Their responding officer spoke to Carlos Melendez, the manager, who stated a female was asked to leave the club as she was arguing with security staff. As the female was being removed from the club, she stated, "Don't touch me, I will shoot you." Mr. Melendez provided the officers with a description of the female and the vehicle she left in. Based on the information, officers were able to identify the female. A review of the CAD using parameters of 12 to 2 a.m. on October 22nd showed one call for service to Top Shelf during this time period for a disturbance initiated at 1:21 a.m. Calling party telephone number was Carlos Melendez, the manager. After conferring with Sergeant James Mazza, we request that these reports be submitted. So the manager called like he was supposed to, and I don't see a violation.
no,
I make a motion, we take no action on this violation. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Oh,
Yes,
Attorney Cade,
yes.
Attorney Ramirez,
Yes.
Attorney, Commissioner Siciliano,
yes,
Commissioner Signature, yes. Okay. Notice how I'm never an attorney, I'm always a commissioner. Okay. Next, Delicious Restaurant, ongoing complaints, report dated November 3rd. On Saturday, October 23rd, Officer Delamarter responded to the area of 140, 145, 148 Geraldus Drive at 7:30 p.m. to monitor the noise music coming from Delicious Restaurant. Officer Delamarter remained at this location until 2:10 a.m. Peter Signator, Chairman of the Board of License Commissioners, also was present for several of these hours. During the entire duration, there was a constant bass sound emanating from inside of Delicious that grew louder as the evening went on. The music got much louder whenever the patio door opened. Sergeant Johnson also responded to Officer Delamarter's location on Geraldus Drive at 9:20 p.m. and initiated a call for service for follow-up investigation. Sergeant Johnson's narrative states, "I came here to follow up on the noise complaints coming from 1333 Boston Road. Officer Delamarter was also here. While we were here, we could hear the constant sound of bass from a distance of approximately 150 to 200 feet away. At 12 a.m., Officer Delamarter could still hear both the bass and the music. He also heard a male speaking, followed by the crowd of patrons yelling and screaming. All of these could be heard from 140 Geraldus Drive, over 200 feet away from Delicious. At 12:50 a.m., Sergeant Catelier responded to Delicious Restaurant with Officers Giustiano and Norris due to the noise. Sergeant Catelier later advised Officer Delamarter that he spoke to a manager, name unknown, and advised him to turn the music down. Shortly after the officers responded, the music temporarily stopped, but came up loud and could be heard at the same level as before the officers responded there. That was Saturday, October 23rd. On October 24th, there was another call for service to Delicious Restaurant for unnecessary noise. This call was initiated at 8:52 p.m. The calling party was Marie Prouty of 148 Geraldus Drive. Officer Burke responded to this call for service. He arrived at 9 p.m. and cleared the call as unfounded at 9:05 p.m. Officer Delamarter later contacted Officer Burke and inquired if he responded to Geraldus Drive. He replied that he did not go to Geraldus Drive, but he did respond to the front of Delicious, where he did not hear any excessive noise. On November 2nd, Officer Delamarter reviewed the body-worn camera video footage of Sergeant Catelier and Officer Giustiniano. Upon viewing this footage, Officer Delamarter observed a male standing inside the establishment under an arch with his back to the front door. A puff of smoke can be seen rising above this male. The male briefly looks back toward the officer, and when he turns around again, a puff of smoke is seen rising above him. It is unknown what the male is smoking, but it appears to be in his hand. After conferring with Sergeant James Mazza, we request that Delicious Restaurant and Catering, DBA Delicious Restaurant and Catering, located at 1333 Boston Road, Derek Crespo, manager of record, be charged with the following: violation of 204 CMR 2052, no licensee for the sale of alcoholic beverages shall permit any disorder, disturbance, or illegality of any kind to take place in or on the licensed premise. Licensee shall be responsible whether present or not. 2 counts, to wit, failure to abide by the City of Springfield noise ordinance and permitting a patron to smoke in the licensed premise. So, pre-hearing conference on this one?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, make a motion for a pre-hearing conference. Do I have her here a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. Pot Belly Melting Pot Restaurant, which is next to the Pot Belly. Is that what you said?
Same building on the backside, the Oak Street side.
That back of the building. Okay. I never heard of melting pot, but
For a second, I thought officer wasn't here. I thought Barry wasn't here. I almost
no.
sent him a message asking, where are you?
Oh, Barry's always here, hiding off in the corner there. You sent him a message?
No, I said I almost.
Oh, you almost asked where you were, taking attendance. Okay. On October 23rd, 2021 at 2:08 a.m., dispatch notified officers that there was a report of a gunshot victim in the area of Main and Oak Streets in Indian Orchard. Officers responded to Bay State Medical Center and located the operator of the vehicle that transported the victim. He told officers that he came out of Potbelly Pub to find his friend had been shot in the arm, so he transported his friend to the hospital. This male had no other information and indicated he did not witness the shooting. Officers then spoke to the male victim. The victim told officers that after exiting the bar, he was standing with friends off to the side of the bar near the rear parking lot when he heard gunfire, but he did not see who was shooting or where it was coming from. Then he felt his arm burning and realized he had been shot. While officers were at the hospital, a second victim arrived there suffering from a gunshot wound to her right calf. This female victim stated she was standing with a group of people outside of Potbelly's Pub when she heard gunshots. She added that she did not know where it was coming from, but that she felt a burning in the right leg and fell to the ground. The victim and her friend were transported by an unknown party to the hospital and dropped off. Other officers responded to the area of Main and Oak in an effort to locate the scene or any evidence associated with this incident. The officers did not find any evidence. Bar staff stated they did not hear or observe any gunshots outside the bar. Melting Pot Restaurant employees also indicated they did not hear anything. Five calls for service were made in relation to this incident during the time period. An effort to retrieve video footage proved futile. Officer Delamar was advised that the DVR has not recorded for months and therefore there is no stored footage. A copy of Potbelly's alcohol license, entertainment license, and security plan show daily hours of operation of beverage services as 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. 2 security employees worked every Friday and Saturday night from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. This incident occurred on early Saturday morning, Friday night into Saturday morning. After conferring with Sergeant James Mazza, we request that My Jojo Inc. DBA Potbelly Pub located at 153 Main Street, Joseph Cravarotis, manager of record, be charged with the following: violation of 204 CMR 2052. No licensee for the sale of alcoholic beverage shall permit any disorder, disturbance, or illegality of any kind to take place in or on the licensed premise. Licensee shall be responsible whether present or not. 2 counts, to wit: 1, violation of the security plan, failure to provide requested video footage because of a non-recording DVR, and failure to call the police. So my question is, they have a security plan
They do.
which requires the cameras and the DVR
I can read the exact.
Okay.
Exact.
Is you still?
The exact language is 9 security cameras are in operation, 2 on the exterior, both covering the sidewalks of Main Street and Oak Street. 7 cameras cover interior spaces and can be monitored on property in real time from the office located in the basement. Access to the camera system is restricted to only management, assistant management, and the owner. Immediate access will be given to the Springfield Police Department upon request.
Okay, so the security plan requires cameras and a working DVR, and the DVR is not working. So do we see a violation? I would see a violation there. Clearly, their security plan requires it. Cameras aren't working.
Mhm.
Failure to call the police. It was outside, right?
So they only have entertainment till 12 or 1 a.m. They don't have late night entertainment. So I'm not sure why they wouldn't have heard gun shots. I can't say the music was on because it's
Right.
2 a.m.
So they do not have a late night entertainment.
They do
So they
not.
cannot offer any entertainment after 1 a.m.
It's either 12 or 1. I think Anna Martinez sent me a thing saying 12, and I believe Attorney Days just advised me they don't have late night, which would be 1 to 2 a.m.
Okay. So the justification for the failure to call police is that they do
Well,
not.
They didn't address it because there's no manager there. That's
We're
addressed
getting to
in the
that,
next
right?
violation. So they didn't, I had no one to ask because he hasn't
What
been
do you
there in over a
ask?
year.
What?
Why they didn't call the police.
Why they didn't call? So no, there was nobody that there were no. You spoke to some. You speak to any employees there, or
None,
you didn't speak to any employees?
none.
Why?
Because I have no idea who to talk to.
Oh,
There's
I mean,
no
was there a
manager.
bartender
There's no
or
manager.
anything?
Well, I wasn't there when they went.
All
And
right.
they didn't
Okay.
list who they spoke to.
All
We
right.
didn't hear anything. They just said
Oh.
when they responded, there was still staff there, but the staff said they didn't hear anything. Which is
Okay.
hard to believe if
All right.
everyone else hears it.
So the justification for this violation is that there was no music after at least 1 a.m. and these shots were at what time? Do we know?
Yes. It happened right around 2.
At 2.
Right.
And there were 5 shots?
It was 2:08. No, there were 5 callers. A
Oh,
lot of them were patrons.
yeah. Oh,
So if the patrons heard it,
okay. So what do we see here? 1 violation or 2?
But security plan too.
Security plan.
Yeah.
The security plan requiring the DVR, which
That's
is
correct.
not working. Is there a violation of failure to call the police for shots outside? I'm struggling with that.
no, I understand.
I am too with that one.
I
I
mean,
mean, they didn't hear it, they didn't hear it. I mean, if it was inside, then, there's no.
Right. Right, it was off premise. It was on premise, but outside.
So I originally thought that restaurant was like a block away. It's not. It's part of that same building and it's connected by a window.
Okay,
The reason I put that is the calling parties, several, at least 2 of them were at that restaurant, which has the window that goes right to the bar.
mhm.
And they're the ones that called the police to say there were shots fired,
This melting pot,
not the melting pot. None of their employees
Patrons.
called either.
No.
It was patrons who had
patrons
been.
calling.
So it's my understanding that the patrons leave Potbelly's and go around the corner. There's a door as well as the window that accesses Potbelly's, but the door on Oak Street and that, speaking to the officers that work out there all summer long, they just hang out between the 2.
Oh.
And I guess, the way I'm looking at it is if you don't have entertainment and the people who are at that restaurant can hear it, how are you not aware? How did you not hear it? Especially
Inside, right.
Inside, I mean.
Right.
They can't have, I'm saying, what would their excuse be though? The music was on, the TV was on,
Right.
then that would be another violation. I mean, if we had video, it would be so much easier.
Right,
You
of
know,
course.
because it says they have a camera on Oak Street. Well, that's where it happened, allegedly. Because they never found the scene. So is there the possibility it happened inside and we'll never know? That's a possibility as well, because we didn't get video. And the people aren't super cooperative. I mean, I don't have the full report in front of me. Neither victim called me back. I think the only person I spoke to was several of the calling parties, which included two of the people who transported victims in. They both called because their friend was shot, but the friends who were shot,
Not calling.
not calling.
Do we have any idea where the shots came from?
No,
No.
because there was no evidence found.
Jeez, oh man.
And, you know, I mean, that's the other issue. When they say it happened by here and you go there and there's nothing, then the chances are, obviously, it happened somewhere else and they're not being truthful or honest about where it actually happened. And again, we can't never prove that without video, which we now don't have.
Right.
And as far as speaking to employees, I called the manager thinking he would give me names. And when he instead of calling me, he called the licensing department, shocked that his name was still on the license.
Mhm.
And then he called me the next day and basically said he hasn't been there since the beginning of COVID.
Okay. So what are we, gentlemen? Are we seeing two violations here or one? Because we got
I think we only seen one because the other one's unclear.
anybody agree with that?
What about the no manager of record present?
We're getting to that.
Oh, okay, you can do that.
That's a different day
All right.
Okay.
on this one.
Yeah, I'm okay with I'm okay with just the security plan on this one.
All right, okay, so we're gonna, one violation, pre-hearing conference. Yes?
Yes.
All right. I make a motion that we hear one violation of failure, violation of security plan, failure to provide requested video footage because of a non-recording DVR. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. Okay, what we've been waiting for, another October 31st, Halloween. Officers responded to a large disturbance at Potbelly's Pub that started inside the establishment between two males over a female. The first officers on scene attempted to detain the two males. A female then interfered with the arrest of one of these males, and the crowd of unruly patrons surrounded the officers. A call was made to 911, but neither one was made by employees of Potbelly. There were no calls made by any employee of Potbelly's Pub to the police to report this disturbance. Video footage was requested from Potbelly Pub, but not available as the DVR had not been recording for months. It was also discovered that the manager of record listed on the alcohol license at Potbelly's Pub has not acted in that capacity since the start of COVID. The licensee, despite this prolonged period of time, never filed a change of manager petition with the licensing department. So we're talking March of 2020?
Yes.
Yes, before the restriction started, he stopped going to work. He was told by the owner that at license renewal last year, 2020, his name would be taken off the license. And it never was.
So in fall of 19, he was supposed to come off? Is that?
No, in the last year, 2020. So renewal time last year,
Okay.
so a year ago.
So he stopped working in February or March of
Yes,
2020. All right, okay. The licensee, despite, none of these responding officers observed any security staff or employees of Potbelly's Pub outside assisting and dispersing the large and unruly crowd. And the officers noted that the staff did not answer the door to the bar for a period of time, despite the fact that at least one male was still inside. Do we know what time this was?
this,
That they wouldn't open the door? Was this after closing?
it was right at closing.
At closing? Okay,
Yeah,
all right. Several of the officers on scene also formed the opinion, based on their observations and training, and experience that Potbelly's Pub was operating beyond their capacity of 50 patrons. After conferring with Sergeant James Mazza, we request that My Jojo Incorporated DBA Potbelly's Pub located at 153 Main Street, Joseph Cravarotis, manager of record, be charged with the following: violation of 204 CMR 2052. No licensee for the sale of alcoholic beverage shall permit any disorder, disturbance, or illegality of any type to take place on or in the licensed premise. The licensee shall be responsible whether present or not. 6 counts, to wit: 1, violation of the security plan, failure to provide requested video footage due to a non-recording DVR. 2, failure to call the police to report a disturbance. 3, no manager of record, failure to file a change of manager petition. 4, failure to provide adequate security. 5, failure by staff to assist or cooperate with police. And 6, exceeding the capacity of 50 listed on the alcohol license.
All 6.
All 6?
Yeah.
I make a motion then that we, on this October 31st violation, we find all 6 counts suggested by the police department for a pre-hearing conference. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. Now, my question is, who spoke to this Joseph Cravarotis?
I believe Attorney Days spoke to him,
Okay,
and then the next day, he had left me a message. I called him back and I spoke to him the following day.
okay, so he told Attorney Days that he had not been there since pre-COVID, and then he confirmed that with you.
Correct.
All right. Okay, is that it? Do we have anything else? No? All right. Johnny, you may not be familiar with this process, but every year in November, we have our first meeting as scheduled, the second Wednesday of the month, and then the second meeting, it changes depending on when the last business day of November is, because at that meeting, you sit back and relax while I sit and read every licensee in the city. And it's very, very boring. And we vote to approve everyone who has submitted their application, and they have until close of business on November 30th to do that. So that's why we have the second meeting in November on the last business day. And that can be, unless it's Thanksgiving or a weekend, it's whatever the last business day is of November. So this year it is Tuesday, November 30th. So I will see everybody at 5:30 on Tuesday, November 30th. I make a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano,
Yes.
Commissioner Signature, yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.
Good night. Have a good one.